The Writer's Dossier Podcast is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Martin Rooney, and this is my Writer's Dossier.
No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dossier Podcast, the Writer's Dossier, coming to you live here from the Dossier Podcast studio, writer's room, and occasional speakeasy. But today, right now, you're joined by Martin Rooney. This guy, holy cow, what a dude. Martin, thanks for joining the Dossier Podcast.
Absolutely my pleasure. And the speakeasy part has me interested. I like that wine in the background.
Yeah, we had a little just earlier. I lived in Italy for a few years, and I've got some nice Valpolicellos back there. That's kind of where we're leaning, but you're a cab guy. I like that too. That's good. Yeah, so
I was going to say California too. I've been all over the world and came back to the U.S. for some of my favorite wines.
Yeah, I had to leave the U.S. to discover some of mine, but we will definitely get together. I think we're going to have some drinks at Bouchercon this year. Looking forward to that. So, folks, you can find Martin Rooney at Bouchercon. He'll be in NOLA and Thriller Fest too, so look him up there. Real quick, hey, so like I said, you're widely known for a few things out there. Besides being a two-time Guinness World Record holder and a best-selling author of a dozen books on fitness, wellness, and leadership, you've been at the top 100 of the most influential people in health and fitness for the last 5 years. And in 2015, you were inducted into the Personal Trainer Hall of Fame. So, dude, where is the Personal Trainer Hall of Fame? I mean, are there tours? Was there an induction ceremony? Are you cast in bronze? Lay that out for us.
There was an induction ceremony, which was really, really cool. I don't think this is like the College Hall of Fame where there is a bust of mine that you can go rub and it'll slowly get shiny. But those, hey, were all honors of a lot of the stuff of a long career in exercise and fitness. I was very lucky. If anybody's ever read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell,
yes,
I think I just hit magic birthdays where I was born at the right time for certain waves, and I really learned how to ride them. In particular, I was this guy that worked with NFL combine guys when no one was doing that, and really that was this incredible experience. Then I was training UFC fighters when it was still a banned sport and nobody believed in it. I really got known there. When the metabolic movement happened, even pre-CrossFit, my organization really jumped on that. And so it seemed like the times when I was getting an opportunity to take advantage of fitness trends, I was always the right age and the right place at the right time, even down to youth sports performance, where we launched something called the Parisi Speed School, which has gone on to train 1 million kids, which, so really, really great experiences. But all of that led to an incredible experience, which was writing a action thriller, which I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be in this genre. That is what I read most and what I'm a fan of. And now I'm taking my swing at the plate.
Yes, and you're knocking it out of the park. I know you're a huge reader. You've read thousands of books. I don't know how you do it all, everything that you're up to. You've done a lot of things, and I've done a lot of things in my years, but you've done more and on a much bigger stage. When I discovered you on the Suit Up podcast with my buddy Terrence Lehue, great episode, by the way, I found myself thinking, this guy is in a league for most interesting men in the world. Now that you've added thriller writer to your list of accomplishments, what's next? More books? You going to take down Nike? What's going on?
Well, hey, for everybody listening, the first thing that I will say is that means I'm getting old, right? So I will date myself. I'm in my mid 50s now. And what I like to say is all the stuff you just heard, some of those things, they've been happening for the last 35 years. And what I always believed was, if you, stayed consistent and you did 4 or 5 really cool things a year, which is not a lot, well, multiply by 35 and I got 150 really cool things to talk about, right? And in terms of the books, right? Some people will say, wow, you've read a couple thousand books. And it's like, yeah, read 80 or 90 books for 25, 30 years, and you got a whole lot of books on your shelf. And so what I would say is the secret has been the consistency. But yeah, right now, this book, it's called Blood Feud.
There we go. There it is, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, Martin's holding up Blood Feud with Lee Kane right there. And that's a beautiful cover too.
This was Pub Week. I actually got to design the cover as well because I do a lot of art. And
it came out great.
Yeah, well, it was a process, right? When you got to try to decide, it's, hey, when you have a kid, I've got 4 daughters. When you have a kid, you kind of don't really get to choose, but your book is like your own kid too, but you get to choose what they look like. And that is hard. But that comes out, and to answer it, hey, I've already got the manuscript for book 2 done. But now, as we talked offline, I got to prove to the publisher I can sell enough in order to get it. And that is my job.
Well, that's what we're here for. We want to talk about Blood Feud and just let everybody know that this book is, I love that some of these books that are coming out are different. And I think that's what readers are looking for too. Despite your history of best-selling books and your other hat that you wear, why did you turn to writing a thriller? Particularly this one, as it deals with cancer.
Well,
usually it's a bomb plot, a kidnapping, or some kind of terrorist threat. Tell everyone how you threaded in medicine and big pharma into your story.
Well, some background on myself to give it quick. I have 2 degrees in exercise science, but I also have a degree in physical therapy. So I was an orthopedic physical therapist for years. My mom ran a company that only dealt with women with cancer. She was one of the first to ever do that in the United States. This was in the 90s. Well, she was a physical education teacher, but then did this because she wanted to do something different. And in the weirdest twist of fate, one of my best friends is the coach of the Jamaican Olympic bobsled team for this Olympics, because we were on the bobsled team together. He developed cancer for the second time. I didn't think he was going to make it. And one day we were in a place called the Hope Lodge in New York City where he was staying, where they allow him to stay while he does all this treatment. And we were in this library, Jeff, and he's looking through books and he says, hey man, you read so much. Why don't you give me a book to read? I'm losing my mind, right? He had lost 100 pounds. He's going through radiation, going through chemo. And I said, hey dude, how about instead of me letting you read somebody else's book, why don't I write the one I always dreamed of writing, and you see it chapter by chapter, and we have this fun, right? I was trying to use one of my skills to keep him going, some of my talents to give him something to look forward to. And here's what's crazy. It turned into the manuscript. He beat cancer. And it died on the vine, right? I had no vision it was going to be a published book. It was a project, all right, a passion play for us. And then I was in New York City cornering the UFC. And I said, man, I got this thing. This is the publishing capital. Let me make a few calls. And I called the publisher I knew he didn't do that style of book. But then he said, I got a name for you. And that one name, the guy read it, loved it, bought it. And and now, which is pretty crazy, I'm holding that book in my hand. So where'd the cancer idea come from? Because my buddy was going through it. Why is mine so anti-cliche? Because I'm none of those things that I'm not FBI. I'm not ex-military. I'm not a super CIA, special forces, all the cliches that keep coming out. I wrote about the badass stuff that I know, but wove it into a story that we were kind of experiencing. And I tried to write it raw and how the book that I wanted to read. And maybe by having that fresh set of eyes, that's what makes it so great, because people are going pretty nuts about it. But it's nerve-wracking, right? When your stuff comes out, it's scary.
Brother, that is one of the best stories and best answers to that question that I've ever heard. And everyone out there listening, you need to let that answer sit for a second and realize that it's not just about, hey, Circle selling books on the Dossier because I don't get a dime from this. I lose money daily. It's because of the passion for the craft and the product that comes out. And this is a prime example of it. So let me just throw that out there and everyone take a minute. So like I mentioned earlier, you gave a great interview on the Pseudo Podcast with my buddy Terrence Leahy. Everyone needs to listen and subscribe to his podcast. That's another thing we do here is we point the finger at everyone else who we think is great. Terrence is an expert here, and you guys, you're an expert too in this next topic. You guys go super deep into comics. Now, I learned that The Flash is your favorite superhero, and Martin, we don't want to know where the tattoo is, but what came first, your love of The Flash or your natural ability to go fast and eventually become a speed coach?
I'll tell you what, that is a great question. And here's how I answer it, just with a techno-sciencey answer. I believe, hey, if everybody's feeling it right now, I'm kind of an explosive guy. I have an explosive personality, whether you want to call it extrovert, whether you want to call it fast twitch. And I always had that. When you're a kid, they would call you hyper, right? They would call you hyper. That was before they would say ADD, which was then ADHD. But I was hyper. And I don't know the chicken or the egg. Was I hyper and that's what made me run and that made me do all those things? Or did I run and then I became hyper? But my dad would come home on Tuesdays because he would ride the train to the city or whatever. And we'd come home and he would pass this comic store or, little stand, a paper stand. And he'd always bring me a comic. And the ones he started bringing me were the Flash. And man, something resonated, right? It's funny. Terrence kind of said it. He's like, maybe I got the Speed Force in me because my children have it too. So my one daughter ran track at Notre Dame. I'm also a track and field coach. My third daughter was now just MVP of her high school track team. And so to answer it, I guess I would say, I think I was always fast, but then because of that, Flash resonated with me. But what resonated even bigger, and this maybe we take it deeper, which we didn't talk about, it's that whole idea of being a hero and being a good guy. And I think that was the thing it always taught me, is that has been what I've been trying to be. Like when people always ask me, right? So you asked, hey, what's next? But when I used to get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always said, I want to be a superhero, right? And I was saying that in high school. I'm like, I want to be a superhero. Why can't I be? And I'll tell you, now at over a half century on the earth, I feel like I have helped a lot of people with the natural gifts that I had, but also I keep using it to excite the next generation to leave it a little better than I found it.
I love that. I wanted to be a superhero too when I was a kid. And we had an awning deck off the back of the house upstairs off my bedroom, and it all came to a screeching halt when I thought I was Spider-Man and fell off. So
Leaping off.
let's move on. You've done everything else. Any talk about Lee Kane and Blood Feud going to Hollywood? I mean, you got your agents working on that?
Well, I think the answer. The first answer is, hey, if anybody's listening and is an agent, I don't have one. But what I would say is
Zuni.com is a small, dynamic website development company that has created, designed, and maintained author websites for over 25 years. They specialize in customized WordPress sites for writers of all genres, for both debut authors and those with dozens of books. They also support branding through print and online ads, social media design, custom newsletters, and other promotional materials. While they're in the business of creating functional beauty, they're best known for their individualized attention to clients and details, along with amazing responsiveness. Every web designer has a different style, so to see if Zuni is right for you, take a look at their designs. They're all well-organized, creative, professional, and convey a sense of the author's personality. See what I mean at xuni.com. That's Zuni.com.
Every person who has read it, and I have friends that are in Hollywood, they are actors, or these are people that are on the fringes. They have all said, dude, this thing is written already almost like a screenplay script. Remember, the book just came out this week, so it is now getting into the hands of certain people. But again, right, I think you hit it. Remember, this was a passion play. It was something then that I wanted to put out there to see if people would appreciate the art that I tried to put together. And I do believe writing is a craft. It's an art, how you use your words. And hey, I think every person has this vision. Ooh, it's going to be a movie and it'll be the next Jack Reacher series. If that happened, that would be incredible. And man, would that be, you could say, a dream come true. But it's funny because it was never really the original dream, right? The original dream was my buddy survives, which he did. And then the next dream is, man, that a lot of my friends like the book, which they do, which now the next one is, hey, maybe the world will like this guy, and some of this moral code that I really portray that he's got, I'm hoping it has some type of effect to maybe toughen everybody up a little bit, or maybe allow people to have less people take advantage of them in the future.
Yeah, I can't get over your story. It's just so fantastic. Everyone, I mean, seriously, think about this. The things you've done and the origin of this book and how it's leading right into a next one. Remember the name, Lee Kane and Blood Feud. Martin Rooney, this is the book. Just go out and get it right now, because you're going to enjoy, if you like reading books, this is going to be one that you enjoy. Trust me on this. All right. Hey, have you met Joe Rogan?
Yeah, lots of times.
Lots of times. You need me to text Jamie and get you booked on the show? I mean,
hey, that'd be, and it's funny, I haven't even really addressed that either. But remember, I've been around the UFC. I've been cornering fighters for 25 years. So 25. Man, hey, here would be the cool thing is I've gotten to meet and be around Joe Rogan before he was Joe Rogan. Right. He was always Fear Factor Joe Rogan and comedian Joe Rogan. But man, who he is now has really changed the level. I just did Frankie Edgar's podcast. He was UFC champion, and he's reading it right now. And he's like, dude, I haven't read a book in a while, and this thing is unbelievable. So maybe by kind of organically it'll get there. But yeah, I have not reached out or anything like that yet. But man, would that be a natural fit? And I really believe this is a great point with the book. When people read it, because I'm also a black belt in judo, a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, I've trained with the baddest fighters on the planet too. I think when people read it, they're going to see my style as kinesthetic. They're going to feel it. They're going to feel what a fight scene is. I pull no punches. It's authentic. It is not like, ooh, he got shot, but it's clean through and he's fine. Oh, he grabbed his head and now his neck's broke and he's, there's just this raw and savage, honoring of violence that I think few people really understand, in particular, many writers that write about it, where I feel that I bring also a unique perspective to that in the writing. And I'm hoping that that's going to shine through.
Well, it does shine through in Blood Feud. I think people are going to see that when they get their hands on this book. So where can people keep track of you and follow you on social media?
I would say right now it would probably be Instagram, where Instagram I'm always, but just because you can put the immediate stories up and people can see what you're doing right on the daily, as well as really get a good history if you really scroll through that reel, all of those things that everybody has heard about. If you go there, if you go to the Martin Rooney on Instagram, you're going to see it's all there, whether it's stuff, highlights of things with writing or with my family or fitness or cornering the UFC and all the stuff that you've just heard. It's all there. And I think that's the really cool medium right now in order to do that. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, Instagram would probably be the best bet. If you want to see some crazy videos on YouTube, so I've got a YouTube channel where we have all this fitness stuff and all the, fighting stuff for a long time on there. So that goes back 20 years. I was a YouTuber before there were YouTubers. I think I was too early for that one. I should have read Gladwell's book again. But, so that would definitely be a great place to if you want to see some action and some crazy feats of strength. When I was a younger guy, those are all there too.
Martin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a really good conversation, and thank you for sharing your past and this book with everybody. I can't wait to see the success that you're going to have with Blood Feud. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Jeff. See you soon.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye.
The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.